Hello, we're going to be seeing tonight how to make a hill-like structure. So, good to have water handy and a brush. Really just kind of crappy brushes. Just take Codex Gray, and you can also go to, which is what I'm planning to do soon, is go to, say, a Home Depot or some kind of hardware store and get color samples, which are really cheap. They're only like $6-7, and they come in big containers about that big. Try and get it pretty watery, because when you get it watery, it gets a lot more pliable, and we're not wanting to cover it with, you know, like this big solid layer. We just want it to cover and get the idea that it's gray. Spread it around as much as possible. It's good to change direction, so instead of just always going up, 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 then you change direction, kind of go sideways. Try and go with the groove, because polystyrene sometimes get these kind of serrated, you know, edges. So, it's the first layer. Just apply it just a little bit wet. Try and get it up near the edges, so when you flock, because you're most likely, I'm not sure what kind of hill it is you're planning on doing, but it's good to paint toward the edges about ½ an inch or so, or less, because usually the flock, depending on the style of hill, isn't going to come directly to the edge. It might just come a little bit back. So now, let us begin with the dry brush. But before we do that, what we're going to do with, when we cover this with ground, what I have here is some of the Citadel flock and sand, and what I did is I mixed the two together, but as you can see there's not very much in there, and what I found as a cheaper solution to the sand, which actually looks really, really good, is this. You can find it at a paint store. It's used for slip resistance. So if you paint something, if you paint like the ground, something on the ground, it makes a very, very fine powder, and it's good for doing really fine dirt. So probably just gonna mix some of that in there. Citadel makes some nice stuff. It's a little bit expensive though, so if you're looking to get more bang for your buck, you could go to Woodland Scenic. Let's move on to the dry brushing portion of this. So what you want to do is take this, in this case take a pure white, get some on the end. Some people do it thicker, some people do it really thin. I like to just get it over kind of quick, so I put most of the paint on this side but use the other side to paint, and it slowly seeps through. You want to cover it with a thin layer. We don't want to have it as thick as the gray layer. That we're going for deep, just kind of a thinner layer here. You could have different styles if you didn't want it to be as obvious that it was white. You could, while the paint was still wet, like some of this is, you paint over it with the white and it mixes with the gray, gives it a more even transition. Finishing up the dry brushing. It's starting to look pretty good, a bit more detailed now, and I mean, again, it's not perfect, but it is, I'd say, quite nice. Now, the final step to making this look real good on your table. The 50-50 mix of water and Elmer's glue. So we're going to take this big, kind of want a bigger but not huge paintbrush. Going to pour it on rather thick. I mean, be rather generous with it. Don't let one side pool, like one part pool up and then it's kind of thin in another place. Get it really thick. Try and not make the shape exactly like that. Like do a little bit of a jut out, or maybe in some of these cracks right here or something, do a little bit. You want to take pinches, pinch it in your hand, spread it around. Make sure you spread it so thick you cannot see the board. Let it dry for a few minutes, and then shake it off. Don't make the mistake of shaking it off the second you're finished pouring, because it will leave bald spots. That's what we used to do. And it leads to making a more ugly map, so make sure to let it dry just a little bit and then shake it off. Not just let it make it look good here. That stuff actually seems to be working really well. Running low on battery here, but I'll try and get as much done as I can. So last time I waited a bit too long to put the flock on, and it looks decent. It doesn't look bad, but it could be better. So what I'm going to do this time is, instead of just applying the whole mat of sand, put a mat of sand and then flock. Best to have it already open, because, you know, as I said, it's a very quick procedure. You can't wait a long time. You can't wait more than a minute or two. Otherwise, it'll not turn out good at all. And there's pretty much only one shot with this. Once it's set in, you can't just over glue it again. It'll look really terrible and matty, and you'll have like multiple layers. It's pretty bad. So what I'm trying to do is trying to give it more of a less of a straight line look, more of a natural shape. Oh, the joys of time-lapse photography. So what I've done here is I've shaken it off already, which you might have to do multiple times. You might you know, just dump it off a first time to get most of the stuff, and then after you've finished, let it dry like overnight or something. Do it again just to make sure while you're playing pieces don't get on your, you know, don't get sand in places you don't want sand. But now all we have left is kind of nitty-gritty detail work, say in these cracks and such. Get a little bit of paint, just a little bit. And take a little bit of flock or sand or whatever it is you're going for, and just kind of let it lightly sit on there. But mainly if you want grass in places kind of like little nooks or hollows, you know, you don't want to just put one right in the middle of the cliff. You want to follow a groove. And ergo, the finished project. Sorry about the lapse toward the end of flocking down here. My camera died on me. But this is the finished product, and hopefully I'll have some more videos.